Hello everyone, my name is Tim and this is the Silver Pascal Coder, and in today's episode we're going to be looking at conditions and looping constructs. And so in the last video we were looking at simple types, which included integers and characters and floating point numbers and booleans, and after this particular episode we will have enough information where we could create a game, a guessing game, or even a game like Hangman. So what we're learning today are constructs, I guess, that will help make decisions, repeat tasks, things which are fundamental to creating, a functional program. So whether you're looking to learn Pascal or you're an intermediate looking for a refresher, well, you're coming to it from another language, well, this will be just for you. So what we're going to start with here is just an if-then type construct. So you can see here that all we're going to be doing is looking at a condition, or if some condition, and if that condition then evaluates to true, then the statements underneath that get executed. So in this case here we're looking at whether or not a person is an adult. So if their age is greater than 18, then we could, let's say, in Australia at least, serve them a drink. And if they're not older than 18, well, then you cannot serve them a drink. So, but of course this doesn't do that. So what we're saying here now, if the person's age, like I said, is greater than or equal to 18, and that condition will evaluate to true, so it will then output hey, you're an adult. So if though the person were you wanted to say something back to them where let's say they were, hey, how old are you? I'm 15, then all you're going to get back from the program in this instance would be silence. So what we need to do here now is to add in an else block. So let's add that in right now. And it will say here, sorry, you are not an adult. So if we were to run this program now, and we're just going to change this now to be 15, and if we were to run this, so let's do that now. Oh, hang on, it went away too quickly and we're not even calling it. So let's try that again, shall we? And can't type today. Okay. And you can see here how the program now outputs, sorry, you are not an adult. So basically, when the condition evaluates to false, the code in the else block then gets executed. The other one reference book I think that is worthwhile, knowing about or having a look at as well is, it's not there, sorry, is this one here. This is the Pascal user manual and report, and it was originally this is the 4th edition here, and it was originally written by I'm trying to find where it says it. Here we go, Kathleen Jensen and Nicholas Worth. So they were also responsible for the original version, etc. So and you can find out all about well, what can we find out about? Let's have a little quick sticky beak at the chapters here. So simple data types, like I said, we've already covered these ones here. And if we can wait a bit, we can see here repetitive statements like the while loop, repeat, etc., which we're going to be looking at next. And then it looks at if statements and a case statement. We are not going to worry about a case statement because what we want to do here basically just build up our knowledge base a little bit over time. So another good book you can also look at, by the way, is the Object Pascal handbook, and I'm not quite sure what I was searching for there prior, but you'll also find similar information in this book here in relation to looping constructs and if statements. So the next so now that we have done let's say one condition, if you want to do something multiple times, well then we need to look at introducing some sort of looping construct. So, and so we can do something on more than one occasion while something is true, or keep beating the cake mixture until it gets to a certain viscosity or whatever. So in the programming world, we have a while loop and we have a repeat until loop. So the best way of looking at or considering these is that with a repeat until loop is something that will guaranteed to go through at least once, whereas a while loop it may not go through at all. Obviously it depends on how you write your code too. So for loops are a bit different, and so that's why we're going to handle those at the end. So a while loop basically will run while some condition remains true, and you can think of it as being let's just get a bit of code happening here, shall we? Actually, let's go to there. So here you can see that we've got we're going to write out numbers 1 through 5 onto the screen, and that's what will happen here. So in this case here it will that will happen 5 occasions, but if the counter here for whatever reason, let's say it was a variable from some other function call, if it came back as 7, then it would never ever do that. Or if the count were 3 initially, it will only output 3, 4 and 5. So, and there is some functions. Here's an example of somewhere where it may or may not execute let's say once. With there are a couple of functions for iterating through the files in a directory. So there is a find first and a find next function, and each of these functions both return a numeric type, an integer, to indicate whether or not a file was found or not. So it would look something like let's say done equals find first, and there's a bunch of parameters that you ask it for, and it will return I think 0 if there was nothing found. So you would say something like here while done not equal to 0, begin and end. Okay, here we go, we've got the end there. And here what you'll do is next done equals find next, N-E-X-T, and here obviously we'd be working on the file. So here, so basically done would be an integer in this example here, and while if it returns 0, then this function here return found nothing. So while it's not equal to 0, we're going to go down and do some work, try and grab the next file, and then it will come back up to here. The condition gets evaluated, and depending upon the result of that, whether or not it goes into here or down to after the at the end of the while loop here. So basically, so that's why I say that a while loop can be executed no times versus n, shall we say. So if we were to now run this particular program here, then let's add this one into the so now we're running example program number 2, and here you can see it outputs 3, 4, and 5. Whereas if the count were, let's say, make it equal to 8, then nothing gets output. So you can see here that it's done nothing. Whereas if we made that into a repeat until type loop, so why don't we just change that? We're going to make a copy of this function here and make it into a repeat until. So basically this one will keep iterating through until, or while I should say, while the count is less than 5. So basically it's going to stop when it equals 6, shall we say. So this will become example 3, and here what you could do is say repeat, R-E-P-E-A-T, and we get rid of that one, and here we'll say repeat until count is greater than 5. So let's look at these. So what we're going to do here, we've got the let's say the same concept. We're going to write something out. However, this will count up to 5, and this will do something until the count is greater than 5, and we're about to see what that does here. So we're going to run 2, and then we're going to run 3 here, and we may, just so that we can see what's happening, let's just add in a write line here. Example 3. Okay, so let's run these two so now what we're going to do here is to run example 2 and example 3. So here you can see that in example 2 nothing got printed. Why? Because our count was equal to 8, and while the count is less than 5 or less than equal to 5, it will go in and do the block code. But when we use the repeat until function, you can see that it, regardless of the condition, it did that once, and also I did this bit of code once before working out, well, hey, the count was greater than 5, therefore I better stop and do nothing. Now, okay, so what we're going to look at now is a for statement, or for loop. So basically a for loop has a control variable here, which is I, and a starting value and an ending value. Now you can go from, let's say, 1 to 10 or 1 to 50, or you could go from 50 down to 1 if you wanted to. So regardless of which direction it's going to be happening in steps of 1 unit, shall we say. So it's a bit different to, say, C programming, where you could make have a loop go up in increments of, let's say, 2 or 3 or something. Now, what you typically do in a for loop, you could use it to maybe initialize an array of values, or Here we go. The control value says basically here that the control value is left undefined upon normal exit from the for loop. So if nothing else, this might be a case for using, let's say, inline variables, because but now we're getting into a Delphi versus Free Pascal versus versus Pascal as to how variables are declared, etc. And that is not a debate I'm going to enter into here. But basically what we're going to do here is we're going to, for every element in the array, if we find it, we're going to set a flag. We're going to say that it's true here, and that will allow us to break out of the loop. And then if it's found, we're going to say, hey, I found the value. If I don't find it, so basically it's gone through all 5 values, and if none of them match to the target, then found would still be equal to false, and then you'll get that value here. So here you can see here you can see the initialization. Well, all we're going to do, so numbers 1 will be equal to 10, then have 20, 30, 40, and 50, which is off the screen. And now we're going to look for 30 here. So now let us run this. Value found. Good. Now, if we were to change the value we're looking for to be, let's say, 34, and we'll run it again, we should get value not found here. So why do we get that? Because, again, we're looking for 34. It will iterate through all of the items in this array here. None of this evaluated to false for every number, and because of that, found remained equal to false, and for that reason went down to there. So, and if you wanted to see that, you could always add in a write statement or write line statement to see what the just to compare that and that there, those two values. So this just about wraps up this video here, and what we've looked at in this video is we've looked at an if statement. A case statement will be coming up in one of the future videos. We've also looked at the various looping constructs, including a while loop, a repeat until, and a for loop, and how one of them may be executed no times versus a repeat until will be guaranteed to execute at least once through a loop, and how we can use an if statement within a looping construct, and then also to break out of it. So play with these if you would like to, and like I said, if you combine what we have learnt, what we covered in today's episode, with the stuff from the previous one, like I said, we have enough knowledge now to be able to create a simple console game such as a number guessing game or a hangman type game where we had to guess a word. There's probably other games out there you could try. Now, just on future episodes, what I am going to be doing also is, so I think the next one, like I said, we're going to be taking the knowledge and producing that little one of those two games there. Then we're going to look at string types and pointers, and then maybe after that we'll look at case statements, because strings are rather fundamental to the world of Pascal, shall we say, or any language really. But I'd like to be able to, combine some of these ideas together, and just have a little bit of fun with it, because that's what programming is meant to be about, having a little bit of fun with what we do. So I hope you got something out of this video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you want to keep up to date with what's happening, hit that notification bell. And thank you for listening, and I will see you next time, and bye.